Hello. We have a message for you today about freedom. We're hearing a lot of people talk about freedom recently, sometimes screaming, I'm all for freedom. Just wanting to point out how some of the same people that are calling for freedom are the same ones advocating for the oppression of others. This is not freedom. We all have a divine birthright. We all just to be here and simply exist as we are, without harming other people. Just by existing and being your full self and expressing yourself is not harming others. If you take offense to that, get your stuff together. Look at yourself and your own shadow and see what the triggers are, what the conditioning could be. There's a lot of religious templating that goes completely against what Yeshua, otherwise known as Jesus, taught. He walked alongside people. He healed people. He accepted people as they were, as they are. All of this judgment and discrimination came long after him, when Rome and the Council of Nicaea said and put into law, this is what Christianity is. Jesus didn't come here to make a religion. He came to show the way and the kingdom of heaven in each of our hearts that each of us have access to. We don't need an intermediary, a priest. We don't need anybody else in order to have access to God, to the divine, to the God within, the good. So that's something people have told you, whether they believe it or whether they just use it as a control or manipulation tactic. Because it's easy. Oh my God. It's easy to tell people, it's what God wants. Otherwise, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. Jesus walked alongside people. He didn't say, you need to believe in me. Otherwise, and you need to believe I'm God. Otherwise, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. That's like saying, oh my God. I'm just going to say it. It's like, and I've heard this before, I'm using somebody else's words that just cracks me up. I don't want you to suck my dick. God wants you to suck my dick. Okay. Just pointing out that, and even though it's human nature to believe in another person, especially anybody that's an authority figure, we each have the ability to sense and intuit with our intuition what is of light and love and what is a little murky, even having darkness. Like, you need to, I've heard so many stories about people in churches where they were loving and accepting if you were part of the in-group, but as soon as you were a little different, even, or asking questions, even, you were considered the devil or something, as an extreme case. But that was not okay, in-group and out-group. So once again, not what Yeshua talked about, preached, and lived, and showed others the way. That is something that the patriarchal Roman society, a few hundred years after Christ, with the Council of Nicaea, put into place. They were doing horrible things to other people, colonizing nations, not letting other people be free, but going in and doing horrible things. They coined the term, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to say they coined the term barbarian that's, I could be mistaken, let me know if I am, but that's where the term originated or got developed, was anybody who is not Christian is a barbarian. You're either with us or you are not human, and that justified, or they rationalized it in their brains, whatever the heck, you know, these people were that were different from them, that they either willingly or ignorantly did not understand. They just deemed as different and came up with excuses to do horrible things to them. So we all know that that is completely antithetical to Yeshua's teachings, to God, to the good. No matter if anybody says, you know, oh, God wills it or not. I'm reminded of, I think it's called Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom. It's a movie about a knight and a civilization. And there's this tyrant king who, the people that know him, they know he's an a-hole, just a horrible person that does not treat people well at all, and, you know, manipulates and abuses and schemes and lies. And there's the nation who was following him, his army, because he was the king. He was in a position of authority. Didn't have true power. True power is love, but he had a position of authority. And when he wanted to take somebody's land and massacre a people, there's one scene where he's saying, oh, we're going to go to war for whatever reason, you know, it's God's war. And he goes, God wills it. And, you know, the people who know see right through his BS. They see right through his lies. And there's a collective consciousness at play here that the movie illuminates, and also that we see in our world today is we need you. We need more people to speak up from a voice of love, and also to speak lovingly towards deception, and in your own way help raise consciousness and do certain things that makes it, you know, that points the way for others. I was thinking about, you know, make it known, or not necessarily fighting, because that energy, the more you fight something, the bigger the problem becomes. That's why terminology like anti whatever, you're focusing on whatever you're anti rather than being for this. So what else is needed right now? Merlin is getting comfortable. You angel, such a good boy. It's a little windy. He didn't want to get out of the car. One more thing about church and state and freedom of speech, and I'm going to share a vision that I had as well. Putting trust, it has to do with putting trust in yourself and putting trust in your fellow human beings, your fellow citizens, even from different nationalities. Oh my God. I spoke with a mentor of mine, like Yoda, and he said something along the lines of freedom of consciousness, just even having freedom of consciousness. So once again, doubling back to, we all have the birthright of free will and the birthright of being extension of the divine, being an extension of the divine, and living our life. And certain people passing judgment just for, like, people being gay, for example, or trans, whatever it is. Some people have a lot of judgment towards that. I have this great rainbow sticker, and it says, mind your own business. Mind your own business. And we're all on our own journey. We're all, excuse me, I'm getting text messages. We're all on our own journey. We're all here to learn stuff. Whether that is being aware of certain things and remembering who we are and where we truly come from, and witnessing other people as extensions of the divine. And there's also people that are here and their soul path may be to not be aware whatsoever, to learn the hard way with certain things. And then when they die, or when they transition from this physical body to the fullness of who they are, they'll remember and get to do a life review and see whatever. I don't know if whoever's watching this, if you believe in that or not, that's okay. Then church and state. My mentor talked about that a little bit, and freedom of consciousness. And I have this great teacher and shaman who said something, and what he said was, if somebody tells you your vision, run. Only you, 12:12 on the clock, only you can define your own vision and see your vision. Some people may be able to help point the way. However, if anybody tells you, especially without your consent, or pretty much only your vision. When church and state are together, like the Dark Ages of Europe, when the church partnered with certain kings and queens and did horrible things in the name of God, which is completely false. They just were power hungry and misused and abused the name of Yeshua, for example, Jesus, and God, and any other being of the highest light and love they referenced, and then killed people or did other stuff in their name. Excuse me, it's a little heavy. Like in the Dark Ages, just a woman who was in her power, for example, some people would call her a witch, and the church and or the state would go out and burn her just for being a healer, or simply being in her power and speaking from a place of inner strength and power, being divinely embodied like Yeshua was. If these people saw Jesus, they would have burned him at the stake too, because he was a healer, he was a shaman, a medicine man, and he was divinely embodied in his power, preaching love, not preaching division, not you need to do this in this certain way and only then you'll go to heaven. It was the kingdom of heaven's inside you. You already have this. Point the way for yourself, find the light inside of you, and share that with others, and love other people's light as well. The whole love your neighbor saying, not only love the neighbors, only love the straight neighbors. Excuse me. And lastly, I'm gonna share my vision with you. I was helping shoot a documentary on Mexican gray wolves. I didn't even know they existed, but there's the gray wolf, and then there's the Mexican gray wolf. And when the wall was built, it messed up their migration pattern. There's a lot of animals that migrate, and you know, there were families too that the borders, that's the world that we live in. And at the same time, like the indigenous people speak about, they call them medicine lines, as far as I know. They used to be able to travel, and there were families living on each side of the medicine lines, the borders. So I went, and we were at the wall on the Mexican and U.S. border. We were on the U.S. side, and on the U.S. side, it was dry, it was deserty, and didn't see much life at all. We saw, birds and birds of prey and stuff, and it was heavily militarized. There was, a road and border patrol cruising the wall, and then on the other side, it was very green and lush, and there was water. There was ponds of water spotted across the landscape, and I saw people on horseback, and cattle and hummingbirds, looking through the little spaces in the wall. And it was also kind of funny because there were like 5 or 6 foot spaces where there was a little strand of barbed wire across this space that you could just, take the barbed wire off and drive an ATV through or walk through. But I just found that really interesting, and I wonder what the heck that was about, because of the fecundity of the land, the richness, how alive the land was on the Mexican side, and then how desolate and just dry it was on the US side. Like, you could light a match and it would go up in flames on the US side, and it was just so lush and grassy. You could light a match and you could throw it in the green grass on the Mexican side and it'd be fine. There was also fruit trees, it looked like. It was just weird. That was a weird experience. And then I had a vision. This was the first time it's happened like this for me, but it was like, I could still see what was in front of me, but it was like this veil or this image just like got sprinkled before me, and it was in a different time, around the same space, and I saw it was nighttime, and there were fires, like bonfires, dotting the landscape, and there was people, both people on the Mexican side, people on the United States side. There was just people of all different colors, races, religions, genders, whatever, gathered around these bonfires, feasting together, cooking together, dancing, playing music, laughing, living. And there was just a feeling of love and safety. And there was also a feeling and a knowing in that time and space that if anybody was causing harm to anybody, if anybody was misusing, abusing, mistreating other people or peoples, that they were taken care of, that the people, the citizens, everybody was empowered to be themselves and hold people that harmed others, hold them accountable. That was what I wanted to say before, was just lovingly holding people accountable. I've worked through a lot of anger, and I'm lovingly holding people accountable for certain things that they did in my life and certain things they did to other people. I get to hold them accountable. And I know the divine does that too. There's divine justice. Anyway. And like police and military, whatever the heck else, rather than just, and this is a psychological thing. It's like, you know, if you're a policeman, for example, or policewoman or police officer, and you put your gear on and you go out, some can get in the mindset of, you know, be looking for the bad guy, for example, or just have a mindset like viewing everybody as kind of a bad guy or being on edge. And then there's some officers that are just chill. But it's that kind of a mindset, you know, rather than viewing people as criminals, for example. Just if you may not understand somebody, or if they're a little different from you, or if you have a certain kind of fear that is causing disharmony in yourself and the world around you, you get to handle that. But, you know, these empowered citizens, in my vision, that were of all nationalities, they were just living and having a blast. If somebody was harming another person in their community, or if there was a band of bandits or whatever the heck, they would hold them accountable, and they would call on the police and military. Like, they were there to provide support for the people, not just imprison the people. And I know, like, police and military, they can receive certain kind of orders from authority figures. We've seen this throughout history. There can be a tyrant, for example, giving an order to go and commit a war crime against some people. That's part of the reason why I did not join the military. My father and my grandfather were in the Navy. I knew I'm going to go my own path. If I literally pledge my life and am submissive to someone who perhaps does not deserve my submission, I want to be able to say, no way in heck I'm doing that just because someone told me to. So even if you are in that position where, you know, it's like you're forced, in other words, or there will be repercussions or consequences if you disobey a direct order or an order, there's a certain kind of tide that comes along with that. No stories I know there's stories out there, but there's certain stories about people who have said no, and they're like legends, a legacy story about, you know, doing what's good. The God in your heart doing what's good. And when we do intend to do good things, the entire universe conspires in our favor and backs us. And it's a journey. It is steps. It's like, you know, intend to do a good thing, and then instead of just leaving that, like, continue to ask the question, okay, you know, what now? What's needed now for the highest good? What now? The best is good. I like saying, you know, when I'm asking questions, for example, or something, just to point out, like, okay, what's in my highest good? Or is it in my highest good, my highest satisfaction, and the most benevolent outcome, to do this or not do this, or whatever, to tune into the divine. This is coming to mind too. Eckhart Tolle, I heard, defined the cross as this, and I was raised Jewish. However, I never, like Yeshua, like Jesus, I never bought into religion. especially, just the religion of like patriarchal structures that dehumanize women and other people that are not just straight men. That's very short-sighted. There's as many ways for the divine to express itself as there are people on earth times a trillion. The divine can express itself through infinite ways. And if there's a human or humans that are closed-minded enough to say, no, the divine couldn't possibly express itself through a woman, then they're losing out. It's like cutting off half your body. We can receive wisdom from infinite sources. Who are we to say, oh, not through this person? You can do that if you want and be a dingus, but I'm just going to say it in this reading. I'll say it in another reading, but I was going to say in a future one, I'll tell you, the yin and yang symbol. If you have no idea what this is, Google yin and yang and what it symbolizes. Just like night and day, masculine and feminine. Every single being and human has masculine and feminine energy. I find it really funny when people argue about this or get all defensive, like me telling a man, you have masculine and feminine energy. I don't know about that. Funny. Everything's a balance. Like masculine, the day, action, direction, feminine, the night, intuitive, feeling, receptive, and if we only had masculine energy, that would just be like going and hitting your head against a wall with certain things. Sometimes you need to pause for a second and look around and feel and intuit, oh yeah, let's go around the wall, or get a caterpillar and go through the wall or something, rather than just there's a story I heard. Thanks, Christina. This story is about masculine and feminine energy. So the masculine energy, let's just say that's a man, and the feminine energy, let's just say that's a woman. But this man and woman were dropped off in the middle of a jungle, and the man had a machete resembling the masculine energy, and the woman had a compass representing feminine energy. So we all have this compass and machete within us. The masculine energy, and we see this in society and with people, whatever the heck, just goes, I know where to go, and he starts chopping, hacking away at trees, just going, not stopping. And the feminine energy with the compass is saying, hey, the compass is pointing this way. I think we're supposed to go this way. Let's go this way. I'm gonna go this way. No, I'm tired. What the hell's going on here? Now I'm gonna go this way. Chopping this way. Let's go this way. And the feminine energy with the compass is still saying, hey, the compass is pointing over here. Let's give this a shot. Let's go this way. Until they totally wear themselves out. Maybe almost kill themselves. Maybe kill themselves. And then that's kind of the beautiful thing, is when we're tired, certain kinds of truth can come out, or just like, we just speak certain things, or that's at a point where we wear ourselves out and then are actually receptive to certain kinds of guidance, because evidently what you've been doing is not working. So the feminine energy with the compass says, okay, let's go this way. and the masculine finally listens and then goes and takes the masculine machete and hacks the path in the positive or the right direction, and they both get where they were wanting to go and needing to go. Masculine and feminine energy can also be represented as a home. The home, the structure, the boundaries, that's the masculine energy. The feminine energy is the inside space in the home where you live, create, do whatever the heck else. Also, think of a river. The riverbank that guides the flow, the water, is the masculine, giving support, boundaries, definition, guidance to the feminine energy that is extremely powerful, water, flowing, nourishing, going, being free, helping, like it's raining right now, helping flow to the ocean, getting recycled up in the sky and falling and nourishing what is around us. You know, if we weren't nourished in a womb, how the heck would we be born? Wow, that was a really smart thing to say. It's true though. Anyway, I think that's it. That's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. If you saw that whole video, great job. Really appreciate it. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm sending you infinite blessings. I love you. And let your light shine. Even if it's a little bit of a little day, taking a bath, going on a walk, just having a moment of silence and stillness in yourself, and just truly accepting whatever thoughts. If you have crazy thoughts and you're like, where did this come from? You can easily say, I revoke permission for shadow interference in my life. I'll post more videos on what I've learned there, but just meeting yourself with love and compassion, as you may meet other people with love and compassion and grace and forgiveness. Just a little boost of love and support and goodness and self-care for yourself, and to treat yourself, get yourself a good drink or a meal or something, because we deserve to treat ourselves well and honor ourselves. Honoring yourself is honoring others. And also, the world needs more people who have come alive, who are honoring their divine spark. So honor your divine spark. Honor others who are honoring their divine spark or searching for it and blowing that ember into a flame. Okay, bye. Love you. Thanks. See you.